Gentlemen, yesterday we talked about the exam content of risk management professional exam, and you might have been confused a bit about a lot many terms because we have yet not studied a lot many things so far. We have just been introduced to the basic premise of the certification itself, how do you apply for it, but as such, we have not studied anything as far as the risk management itself is concerned. So once we will talk about these things and you will go into the detail, you will learn more and you will understand the things better and you will have lesser queries later on. Today, what I'm intending doing is to talk a little about change management. And I understand that I did talk about change management in the very beginning when I was explaining the difference between issue, problem, change, and risk and all that. So this is an extension to that. This is a bit more than what is required for the risk management, but yes, to set the premise, to understand how a change comes in an organization, I need to talk about some little bit about change management also. So in change management, naturally, I'll define the change management. Then I would like to talk about the projects, programs, and portfolios. As you understand, the standard for risk management is now for projects, programs, and portfolios because earlier it was only the practice standard for projects, project risk management. Now they have covered the project, program, and portfolio, all the three areas, and therefore we must understand what is the difference between project, programs, and portfolios. As it is not included in the standard for risk management in so much detail, therefore I will talk about it from PMBOK. Then a little about project management and project management office. Uncertainty and risk we have already talked about, a little more about managing changes during the project and impact of change on risk management. These are some of the topics we will be covering in this session. First of all, change management. I hope you understand how I related how a change can be brought into an organization. We said that change could be realized through some internal sources or external sources. Enterprise environmental factors could also cause some change in your organization, your stakeholders, your environment of the organization, and there are a lot many things we talked about which could bring change into an organization. From internal sources, we also may realize due to certain issues or problems within the organization which grow out and not uh, we are not able to resolve them. Ultimately, they grow out to be such big problems that we have to consider bringing some kind of a change into the organization. But one thing is certain that whenever we bring a change in the organization, this is always for the good. So, this is part of the continuous improvement of the organization, and change is always welcome. We also talked about uh, the organization surviving with or without change, or for that matter, as I said, the projects, programs, and portfolios, these are the tools, these are the vehicles of change. We bring change in an organization through projects, programs, and portfolios. If we do not resort to these change oriented initiatives, there is no way of bringing change into the organization. Therefore, we must understand projects, programs, and portfolios. But people who talk about change management alone, they do not give so much emphasis on the need for bringing the change through these instruments, but they focus only on the mechanics of change. So, change management is a separate topic. People talk about change management, people give lectures on change management, they don't even talk about projects. But what I am saying is that yes, change is welcome for every organization. This is a natural part of an organization. We have to bring change continuously into an organization. And whenever a change is to be brought, we bring it through projects, programs, and portfolios. But primarily, when we are not really much aware about all the instruments or all the vehicles of change, we generally say that projects are the instrument of change. Yes, of course. But as you understand that project has its own mechanics, project management, there are things beyond project management. There might be small projects, there might be large projects, there might be complex projects, there might be mega projects, and then there are programs. So we have to be able to differentiate between the project, mega project, and a program, and then what a portfolio, what is the role of a portfolio, what does it do? So change management is a structured approach to transitioning individuals, teams, organizations from a current state to a desired future state. We want to change from our current status to a desired future status, which is naturally better than the current status, and that future status is going to happen in some near future. Naturally, it requires some time from getting from the current state to the future state, and some time and effort is required for that. And while we are putting in that effort, that must bring some business value to the organization. It must not only be just to satisfy a whim or a desire, but it must also bring some substantial business value to the organization. So, whatever is the asset value of the organization right now, in the current state, we must enhance and increase that in the future desired state. So, this is the organizational change I am talking about. Then, within a project management or within a project, change management refers to a project management process. Within a project, there is another kind of change, internal change to the project. This is a kind of a process where changes to our project are formally introduced and approved. So there is a change control mechanism within a project, because project in itself is an uncertain kind of a uh, uh, undertaking. We are not sure what we are going to achieve, and because we have never done this thing before, therefore there is a likelihood that whatever we are planning may not all be correct, and we need to keep changing things, keep changing our plans, and keep aligning it with the reality. So there is a concept of progressive elaboration in projects, that as we move ahead in the life of the project, we keep bringing further changes into the plan we have already created for the project. So plan is dynamic in nature in project management, and as we move ahead, the plan keeps changing, but that must go through some formal change control procedure, because if changes are uncontrolled, the project is going to face a disaster. We do not want anybody and everybody to make changes anytime without any procedure. So there must be a proper procedure. Once a project plan has been formed, then there should be a proper channel and a proper procedure through which the further changes to the project management plan must be approved and implemented. That way, we will be able to keep the project controlled till the end of the project life cycle. Field of change management grew from the recognition that organizations are composed of people, and change is not only in the organization, but it is basically you are transforming the people, the teams, and the organization. In a way, you can say that organization is also like a living organism. So, because it is formed of people, if you get the people element out of an organization, this is a heartless organization, and therefore, we probably this is like a machine. So, because of people, because of their beliefs, because of their motivations, you know, organization also is like a living organism. It has feelings, it has objectives, it has likings and dislikings. So therefore, bringing a change in organization is a very scientific process. You have to convince and motivate the people, the teams, and only then you will be able to bring the change. It is not a machine that you change a part in the machine and the machine will still keep working. No matter what, if organization is not convinced, the people are not convinced about the change, they will always create hurdles in the way of the change, and the organization will not be able to absorb the change. That is sticking to the status quo. People will likely stick to the status quo until and unless you manage the people, and the behaviors of people make up the output of an organization. So this is a change management definition which I took from Wikipedia, and this is commonly known as that. Organizations are starting to realize that change is now a normal and inevitable part of organizational life if they are to survive and grow. Now, I must bring this to light that there are two things in an organization. One is the operations, and other are the change related initiatives like project programs and portfolios. We may not have the change related initiatives in an organization, and we can only be running the organization through its normal operations. And maybe the operations of your organization, the SOPs, standard operating procedures, are perfect, state of the art, most latest methods and mechanisms are you using, and your organization is working fine. So your organization can survive without change. I'm saying that your organization can survive without change, but not for long. But somehow, if you stop the operations of your organization will come to an immediate standstill, because operations of an organization are like oxygen or blood flowing through their veins. If I stop the operation of an organization, the organization will immediately come to an halt, and naturally we won't be able to fulfill the objectives of the organization. No profits will be earned, people will not be paid, no salaries will be given. So ultimately, organization will come crashing to a halt, and complete destruction is inevitable. So we cannot live without operations. Operations are necessary. SOPs must be there. A system of running the organization must be there. But can we live without change? Can we live without projects, programs, and portfolios? Yes, temporarily we can. But in long run, we cannot survive and sustain, because we need to grow. We need to compete with others. We need to fulfill the needs and requirements of our customers and stakeholders. So there is always new demands on the organization, which organization has to fulfill and ultimately bring certain changes. And those certain changes, as I was already explaining to you, cannot be brought into the running operations, because operations cannot be halted, and we can't tell people that we should stop all the operations while we are experimenting with new ideas. So if the organization shuts down, then new ideas are of no use at all. So let the organization run on whatever kind of operations are happening, although they may not be efficient, but we will not stop them. And in parallel to the operations running, we are going to have our projects, programs, and portfolios initiated, and we will. This is like an experiment we are undertaking. This is a temporary endeavor we are undertaking. Let's talk only about the project for the time being. So, in shape of projects, our project, we are trying to bring our change, and we are experimenting with that change. And if that experiment is successful, if that project delivers its objectives, then that output or the deliverable can be adopted into the organization, and the SOPs can be revised. So new organization will have new operations, and the operation will be revolutionized, will be changed ultimately. The project will finish as soon as it has delivered its output. So this is how a change can be brought into an organization. But naturally, we will be talking about other other change-related initiatives like programs and portfolios also. So instead of providing the gains promised, these changes create confusion, disillusionment, and low morale, resulting in low productivity. This is the element due to which people resist change. People do not want to change. People want to maintain the status quo because they are in their comfort zone. They are enjoying whatever the system, the operation is, and they are in habit of doing things in that iterative manner. So they will resist change. You have to change the thinking of the people. You have to change the minds of the people if you want to actually bring any betterment to the organization. So, what is the responsibility for the change? The employee of an organization does not have a responsibility to manage any change because he or she is the person who will be affected by the change, and he first has to be convinced that this change is required for the betterment of organization and for his betterment or her betterment. Responsibility of managing change is with the top management and the executives of the organization. They must have a buy-in with the change. They must agree with the change. And this is the first thing, that first of all, they must realize the change, they must agree with the change, and they must take on full responsibility for the change. That is the first step. Then the manager has a responsibility to facilitate and enable the change. The person who is made responsible for the change, like a project manager or whomsoever, this person is assigned the responsibility to facilitate and enable the change. Meaning what? It is not only the project that person has to do, he has to deal with the people, he has to convince the people and bring them in an agreement and consensus for in favor of the change. The manager's role is to interpret, communicate, and enable, not to instruct and impose, which nobody really responds to well, as we are dealing with people and we just cannot enforce a change down the throat of the people. The employees have to be convinced, a consensus has to be gained. So the manager, the change manager for that matter, if you don't want to call him the project manager right now, there might be a change manager on top of project manager. So this manager, he is to interpret the change for the people, communicate to them in a favorable way, and make it possible for them, enable them for the change. So it concludes that change must involve people. Change must not be imposed upon people. So this is the higher view of the change from the change manager's perspective. So I said employee doesn't have a responsibility for change. Top level executives must uh, are directly responsible for whatever change you want to bring in the organization, and whomsoever is made responsible for the change must facilitate and enable change, not enforce change, not impose change. What are the key roles in bringing a change in an organization? We have sponsors, who are the people who are legitimize the change, who authorize the change. These are the maybe the top level executives, maybe they are internal to the organization, maybe they are external to the organization. But those people who are in favor of change and who want this change to be brought into the organization, they will issue the orders or legitimacy to the change. Then are the change agents. These are the change managers or whatever you want to call them. These are people who are planning and executing the change projects. Then there is target. Targets are those people whose way of working will alter due to this change. So they are impacted by the change. They will be, their way of working will be changed as a result of this change. After this change, they won't be able to work as they used to work earlier, and they are the people who have to be convinced that this is all for their betterment. Until and unless they are sure of it, they will resist change. Then we have got advocates. These are people who would like to see a change project idea happen, but they can be advocating the change, but they may not be directly associated for legitimizing the change or something like that. They are not right. They're not involved in the change by themselves, but they advocate the change. They nod for the change. They say, yes, of course, this change is necessary. So there's some change principles, change management principles. At all times, involve and agree support from people within the system. And your system is comprised of an environment. I said organization is a living organism. Organization is a living organism. The system of the organization consists of the environment, consists of the processes, how the things are being done right now. There is a culture cultivation into an organization. Then there are different kinds of relationships within the organization and behaviors of the people. Whether these things are personal behaviors, culture, or processes, or they are organizational processes. So all of this adds up to form a system. So people within this system will have to be involved and they will have to agree. Only then the change can be made possible. Understand where the organization is at the moment. So I said this is from both the perspectives, the personal perspective and the organizational perspective. So all the people who are somehow involved in this change are affected by this change. They must understand where they stand personally and as an organization. And meaning what? I am trying to determine the current state of the individual and the organization. Then they have to understand where they want to be, when they want to be there, why they want to be there, and what the measures will be for having gotten there. So now, once you have determined the current status of the organization, these people, all of these people of the organization must be educated, must be consulted to find where the organization should be, what should be the future state, when that should be achieved, how that should be achieved, and what are the measures which are required to be taken to get us from the current state to the future state. Once these two steps are done, we have determined the current state and we have determined the future state. And not only just we have done it, but as an organization, all of us have understood the change manager's responsibility is to involve all the people of the organization in this determination of the current state and the future state. So when all are involved, then there is a buy-in for the change. They all know and understand why do we need to change, and they will participate in developing the plan for bringing this change. So plan development towards above three steps, which were involving the people in the system, then understanding the current state, understanding the future state, and now we are developing the plan for that in appropriate, achievable, measurable stages. The journey from present state to the future state might be kind of not very smooth, and this might look like an impossible target. So break this journey down into small steps, and each step you take, you must be able to achieve measurable targets. in each step. So these would be called the stages or the phases in which you will be journeying towards your future target. And this is also going to prove little successes coming your way while you are launched in the journey to the future state. So we need these small successes, quick wins to ensure that we are on the right path and we will ultimately be reaching our destination. Once the plan has been developed in parts, in stages, with measurable outputs, we must communicate this to all concerned. We must involve them, we must enable them, we must facilitate them as early as possible and as open as possible. Early, openly, and fully as is possible. So, if you understand these five principles, first of all, we have involved all the people in the system. Then we jointly understood the current state. We jointly understood the future state. Then we developed a plan for our journey, dividing it into stages. And then we communicated and involved all the people once again and, and to gain full buy-in from them. Everybody is on board now. So, for successful change management, we must understand what is to be done and then how is it to be done. As far as what is to be done is concerned, we have change program activities. Carry out these activities to plan, analyze, design, and implement the change. This is how the change program would roll out. This is the planning part of it. Then, how are we going to go about it? There are two things. I already told you there is an individual side to it and there is an organizational side to it. You have to have both kinds of empathy built into you. You must be able to get into the socks of the other person, into the shoes of the other person to understand how he's feeling. So why should anyone be resisting the change? You only can understand that only and only you have the empathy for the individual. Understand and help individuals to deal with the emotional, rational, and political aspects of the change. What will happen to my job? Who will do my job? What will be the salary and all that? So there are issues with individuals why they are resisting the change. So you have to satisfy them. You have to understand them first and then convince them and satisfy them, and that can only be possible through empathy. On the organizational level as well, you must have organizational empathy, and there you need to understand and adopt the change program to the cultural environment as a whole, not as an individual, but how organization is going to benefit from this. And as an organization, we must uh, have a common understanding and a future path established. So, if you want to go on a successful change management journey, you have to have these three things ready. Change management, how it is to be brought. The steps are there are a number of steps. First of all, when you find that a certain change is required, you have to instigate that change. You have to make sure that everyone sees it as a problem or room for improvement. So you must increase the urgency of that change. You must make people realize that this is something which we all should pay attention to. So there are many issues, there are many opportunities around us, but we have to project this specific change related initiative as urgent. This is on the top priority of the list of the organization. This change has to be brought. So you have to make it urgent. You have to increase the urgency of this issue as if we can focus on that. Then, once you have increased the urgency, the next step is to build the guiding team. The people who are the prime movers, who are going to be the prime movers. You have to have the sponsor, you have to have the change managers, you have to have advocates for the change, and other team members who are actually involved in the development of the plan. So this small little team must be in place. This is the guiding team. Then, while you have this team, sit together and get the vision right. Have your vision tweaked out. Is your current state and future state exactly the right what we want to be there? Once you are the guiding team is sure about it that we are on the right path, that is the time then they start communicating with others and start gaining their buy-in. So actually, that vision they have imagined for the change will now be shared with all the employees of the organization, and we will sit with them for our further elaboration of the current state and future state and all that. And in the way, we will be learning more. And in this process, we must empower action. We must, as I said, we must involve all these people, and we must get input from them, and the development plan must be created in support with these people. The people who are going to be affected by the change must be part of the planning. They must be empowered into action. Once this is the whole environment created for the change, you then create short term wins. Like, you divide the whole journey into small phases, and for every phase you define the success you want to achieve at the end of each phase. So these are short term wins which will be advertised, so that people should know that if we have succeeded this much, that means we are so much on into the journey of change. And next step is, do not let up, meaning do not lose heart, do not, you know, just keep your effort up, do not lose heart. If you consistently keep working toward change, you will definitely achieve it. But if you are very enthusiastic in the initial stages, you planned it well, you started it well, and after first phase, you just lost interest in it, then the change is going to be destroyed, and whole of this effort is going to be nullified. So don't let up. And once the change has been brought by your consistent effort, once the change has been brought, that is not enough, because this is the most sensitive point. You just can't say that I have delivered the change and now I'm going home and project is finished and I am no more responsible for this. The change manager remains responsible. Even after the product of the project has been delivered, the deliverable will have to be maintained, sustained for some time, as if it starts yielding the ultimate benefits. And when people are actually in habit of using the new system, that is the time when you should leave. I'm not specifically talking about the project management, I'm basically talking about the change management. The project part will finish when we have delivered the product or the output. But I'm saying is, the change managers, the people responsible for the change, will keep sticking around. They will make the change stick until and unless the benefit has been realized, and only then it will be handed over to the organization, and it will be part of the organization. So the realization of the benefit is also part of change management. But from project perspective, it may not be. But from organizational perspective, the benefit realization is, our outcome is part of change management. So what we go through here is, first we are creating the conditions for change, then we are making the change happen, and then we are making the change stick. So if you can go back and see all what we have talked about, the initial points are increase the urgency, build the team, and get the vision right, and communicate and all that. This is creating the conditions for change. Then, when we said that empower action and create short-term wins and don't let up, this is making the change happen. And the last step, where we said make change stick, this is where you are making the change take, you are realizing the benefits of the change. So first of all, creating the conditions for change, you have to develop a political acumen amongst the people. You must make the people understand that they must not only be thinking about their uh, uh, personal benefits, but they must be looking at it from a holistic view, from an organizational view, and they must be brought on board. They must be given enough autonomy into the working of the organization, and then you must create the guiding coalition. This is forming your team and all that. Then develop a vision and strategy, focus your thinking, and then communicate that change vision. That is, tell the tale. So the team has been formed. Team has been formed. Now this team has to communicate their vision to the people, to all those who are involved. Then your next phase would be making the change happen. This is where actually the project is, being conducted. So you generate the short-term wins, you develop the broad-based actions, you consolidate your gains and produce more changes. That includes the structures, skills, systems, and supervisors all have to be organized. This is actually the execution of the project. And lastly, making the change stick, the teamwork and cross-organizational cooperation is, you know, brought on board. Culture change is brought into the organization, and that is where seamlessly this whole initiative, this whole change has seeped into the organization, and that is where you can uh, just leave it alone. People have adopted it into the culture of the organization. So the subsequent slides will show you a little more detail about each one of these phases and each steps. I'm not really much concerned about how you do it, but this is um it is emphasizing the role of a project management office or project office. So creating a condition for change when you are establishing a sense of urgency, so you can do the benchmarking, you can do the organizational vision, value proposition. So all the tools and techniques which might be used there, they are mentioned here. But you can read it through by yourself. But I have just shown you all the three phases. Okay. Any comments so far? Gina.
All good, sir.
Okay. Ji Mohit is okay with you?
Yes, sir. This is okay with me. Seems like that the conventional organizations are like, especially means who are into the waterfall model of the project management.
Mm-hmm.
So they have built around like some rigorous processes for the change management and so on. So means
Mm-hmm.
this is experienced so far. Like means such organizations means they have like an innate ability to prevent any change, or like means the processes are so rigorous that they discourage the,
Yeah,
especially the change coming through all those processes and so on.
exactly.
So yeah, this is not like a question, means only rather a comment. So uh, yeah, so I mean in that cases means change is uh, have some inherent benefits carried within them. So like I mean how to get those changes more fluid into those organizations. I mean, do you have some suggestions for that, like means out of your experience?
You see, one thing we must understand that all the changes are good. Whenever there is a suggestion for change in an organization, that suggestion is always for betterment of the organization. Naturally, the organization will have to process that suggestion and see if it is aligned with if it is increasing any business value. You remember I said that the change from current state to future state must add value to your business over time. It should not only be aligned with the organizational strategy. Yes, of course, it should be aligned with the organizational strategy, because we are not doing anything which it should not be aligned with the organizational strategy. But if it is not adding anything to the value of the organization, that change is also not really very much recommended. So whatever suggestions of the change are, we have to prioritize them and go for the most fruitful change initiative rather than going for a lower order change initiative. So changes are always good, but some are better than others. So normally in organizations we do not be proactively synthesize the change suggestions. We drop for every first opportunity and we forget about analyzing the whole situation. So basically we need to analyze the situation and we should be less um, temperamental, especially at the top level executives. And whatever we are discussing here is basically highlighting the role of a business analyst. The organizational executives, I know they are responsible for the change and they are the prime movers, the first people who sponsor the change, advocate the change, and all that. But still, they do not have time to be thinking about all these things all the time. So there must be a role of a business analyst, which is very common nowadays. We do have a number of certifications on business analysis also. So business analyst role is the one which is supposed to be keeping a watch on all the opportunities the organization is likely to have. And those roles, those opportunities are created into whenever he realizes a business need, he may create a business case for that. The business analyst job is it to, as soon as he realizes the business need from inside or outside of the organization, he would create a business case and bring that business case in front of the management. And if management approves it, only then he has to move ahead with other ideas, and all these steps are taken. And ultimately, then there comes the role of a portfolio. The portfolio manager would tell how much money he has for the change related initiative and can this new initiative be initiated or not. Maybe organization feels that this new change initiative is very important and therefore it must be initiated, and even if you have to kill some old change initiatives which are less beneficial than this one. So this is kind of a portfolio management going on. So change is necessary for every organization. Without bringing any change, as I said earlier, the organization will ultimately rust and dissolve in a long run, not in a moment of a fraction of a second. The organizations do not die so quickly; they take decades to die. But then, if there is a change management going on, they are evolving, they are consistently working towards a better future state. They will, and their lifeline is lengthened. जी ना.
I would rather say, sir, it won't take decades for an organization to sink. The way the neck throat competition is now going means among organizations, so means it is very easier, or for an organization to think to like get into a bankruptcy state or something.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
This is now nowadays the things are moving so fast that if you just do not take advantage of an opportunity immediately, you are a lost case. You are gone.
You're doomed exactly for failure. Exactly.
Exactly. So with the changing times, these things are becoming even more important, and that's exactly why people are paying so much heed to the discipline of change management, business analysis, project management, program management, portfolio management. This is basically the reason why we are so much concerned about these things now. Right? Any comments, Shahid Saab?
No, sir, I'm good with the discussion and the slides and the content here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's move on to developing a value proposition. We did say that whatever initiative we are undertaking, it must bring some value to the organization. So there must be a value proposition for that. So these are some points here. Uh, Achieving strategy increasing the rate of return on investment. These are the benefits we are looking at. Maybe you are looking at the at building the competitive advantage. You want to benchmark and be better than others in your competition. You want to come up with new products. You have to change. So these becomes the reasons for change in the organization. You want to increase your sale. You want to decrease your cost. You want to exploit unanticipated capabilities. You want to be evolving towards self-funding, or you can have any number of reasons. These all will point towards some change you have to brought into the organization. These could be initiators of the change. These are the value propositions for your change. And again, I would say the business analyst must be looking at these things, and he must be looking for all the opportunities in the market or in the environment to take advantage of. Now, we are coming back from the topic of the change to the project programs and portfolios, and I would now focus on the project program and portfolio rather than the change itself. Change was a bigger subject, and there we said business analyst was also involved. Here we are coming on how to bring change, and changing to bring change. The smallest unit is a project. A project is a specific objective. It has been given a specific objective. Maybe, there could be a long-term objective that we want to increase the education status of this country or this state or this province. And out of that bigger objective, we have assigned a project of construction of our school, one school. So this is your project. So you as a project manager is only concerned, you must know why are we constructing this project and what will that be the advantage and how long this advantage will be there. But as a project manager, I am more concerned about constructing the school and handing it over to whomsoever is responsible. Because running this school, educating the lot and you know getting the literacy level high is not probably the responsibility of the project manager. Whomsoever will take over the school would then be able to process that product into the benefits and sustain that benefit and ultimately increase the literacy level or whatever. So, as far as project manager is concerned, he must know all why, what was the strategy behind it, why are we doing it, what is the life of this thing, and how I should plan for it. Once he is convinced by the history and future of this project, then he plans for the product, for development of the product. He then undertakes the project, makes it as his objective to attain that product, service, or result, and then delivers it. And once it is delivered, then, as I said, it is the responsibility of the people who are taking over. Maybe it is the sponsor is responsible for the benefit realization or whatever. So this is how the project manager will do it. But you see, project manager, though he knew what is the benefit coming out of it, and he designed the project in such a way as if these benefits will sustain and ultimately be realized in long run, but he was not responsible for all that life after the project has been delivered. Um, a program is something in which has a larger and longer duration, and it is not focused on the product. It is not focused on the output. It is focused on the long run objectives. It is actually responsible for a whole benefit realization. And a program can be composed of a number of interrelated projects all working towards the objectives of the program. The program objective is to yield a specific benefit for the organization, say in next 5 or 10 years. And during that 5 or 10 years, various projects will be taking birth within this program, and those projects will be yielding certain outputs and deliverables, and then program will be responsible for processing these deliverables and realizing the benefits out of them. Maybe one of the project was to construct a school. Now the program is responsible, once the project has been completed, to take over the school, run the school, and ultimately run it for say 5 years and yield some benefit out of it, which was targeted. Maybe another project was, doing something else in the same area of education development, and ultimately all of these benefits out of various projects within the program have yielded into various benefits which could be unified into the program benefit. Or it is also possible that program is just there to process these benefits and deliver them to the end user. So even if it is to be unified, or it is to just to get all these benefits out in a sustainable way, and meeting a certain program objective at the end of the day, or for that matter, not a day, but say 5, 10, 20 years, this would be a program. So program does not focus on a product, on our product. It focuses on a long-term benefit realization. All the projects and programs run in your organization, being run in your organization at any one point in time, is the current project portfolio of your organization. And portfolio manager would would be responsible for the selection of right projects and programs to be included in the portfolio. Portfolio has limited funding, and it will take on the suggestions coming from business analysts about new projects and programs, and he would prioritize all the existing projects and programs and see if the new suggestion fits in together somewhere. If that new suggestion is good enough to even tantamounts to killing an existing project or a program to accommodate a new one, it will do it. Portfolio looks at it at a surgical level, at a strategic level, and whatever the funding is available for the change related initiatives, it has to play around within that funding, and all the projects and programs which are being run, has to prioritize them, manage them in a way. Managing does not mean that portfolio micromanages the projects and programs. It does not micromanage the projects and programs, but it has a say in killing a project, giving birth to a project or a program. So portfolio has something big to do. So this is the role of the portfolio and the portfolio management. Then we have project management offices, which have a completely different role. Although this project management office concept is also something like a portfolio, but it is not a portfolio. It is a much junior role than a portfolio. And then we have put it all together, project programs and portfolio. Three kinds of management put together could be called as a organizational project management. And there used to be a maturity model for that, organizational project management maturity model, which was called OPM3. So all of this discussion is going to be continued from here on. I just gave you a preview about the projects, programs, portfolios, PMO, and organizational project management. Um, any comments so far?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. When I ask any comments, that means probably maybe you may not be convinced with what I am saying, and you may like to interject. So that whenever I feel that, I ask that question, because it is open to questions, and you can always ask and debate on that. Okay, as far as the definition of the project is concerned, we all already probably know it, especially people who are already PMPs, and Shahid also must be knowing it, must have read it a number of times. Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Very short, very crisp definition, but the most powerful definition you can ever have. And it clearly points out that whatever we are doing is temporary. Project is a temporary endeavor. Temporary endeavor means that it has to start at some point in time, and it has to finish at some point in time. It is not a routine job. It is not a continuous thing going on. And this is not iterative in nature. It is temporary. We have a mission to achieve. We have a challenge. We have to achieve. We have to achieve the target. Um, so we will plan for achieving this specific target. We will initiate our effort from a single point in time, and ultimately we will achieve it, and the endeavor will be completed. Or even if we can't complete it, and we have to leave it undone, even then the cancellation of the project will also be the termination of point of the project. So project will end somewhere, will start from somewhere, and will end somewhere. And because it is a challenge and we are not really sure what is going to happen to us, although we are putting in our best effort, best experience, best skills, and everything, but still it is an endeavor. And if uncertainties become so high, it may even not be possible to complete this project. So, this is an endeavor. We are trying to experiment with the thing. We may or may not be successful, but at the same time, I must tell you that you should not always blame the uncertainty for your failures. So it will be thoroughly analyzed whether the failure is due to your fault or it is due to the environment or the uncertainty. So that would be known. That is not rocket science that you don't know. You can't always keep blaming everything to the luck. So this temporary endeavor you must undertake, and what are you going to create out of it is a unique deliverable. That deliverable could be a tangible product, good, or it could even be a service or result. Service, like, I am teaching you this training and this is a service I am providing you. You may not be having anything uh, tangible in your hand. It's not a book, it's not something. It is a knowledge which is going directly into your head, your mind. You're learning something. So this is a service being provided. So uh, this may be an output of a project, or maybe you have asked me to provide consultancy on a particular subject, and I ask you a specific fee for that, and I sit with you for an hour or so and give you some idea in writing or maybe verbally, and I just go home. So I have produced a result which for which I have charged you. So this could also be a small little project, or you can hire some company for doing the feasibility study, and they will give you as a result a feasibility study for that thing, and they will go home. So this could also be a project. A project could be producing a tangible good or a service or result. So product, service, or result. But whatever we are creating, this is going to be unique. I may be creating feasibility studies for last 10 years, but this feasibility study I am going to be creating for the first time. Although I may be using all my knowledge which I have learned in my earlier experience, but this scenario is different. I am creating something new here, and this feasibility or whatever the product of this project is, this is going to be unique in every aspect. Project managers are assigned by the performing organization to achieve project objectives. This is a challenging, high profile role with significant responsibility and shifting priorities. So, project manager is not a very small role. Project manager is, no matter how small um your position in the organization is, but you are the focal person for this project. So, no matter how small or big the project is, if somebody wants to ask anything about the project, he will be searching for you. He must be looking for you. And project manager has to deal with so many people, so many situations. So it requires a lot of flexibility, good judgment, strong leadership and negotiation skills, and a solid knowledge of project management practices. A project manager must be able to understand project detail but manage from the overall project perspective. You may be very good in technology, you may be good at doing the work your subordinates are doing in the project, and you should be. That is good for you. But remember, you are the project manager, you are the leader of these people. You are not supposed to do everything yourself. Because if you start doing everything yourself, the people who are responsible for doing those jobs will not be doing that job. And you will be spending unnecessary time on doing things which you should not be doing. Your role is different, your role is more of a communication. So, as a project manager, you may know how the things are done, but you are not supposed to do those things by your own self. You have to empower your subordinates to do those jobs. I understand that they may not be as capable as you are in doing those jobs, but still, you are the leader and you cannot go down to that level. You have to groom them into more capable individuals for doing that specific job you have assigned to them. But your role is different. If you go down to the level of a person, a coder, a person is making developing a computer code, and you are a good coder, and you say, okay, you are not doing very well, so get up from this and I'll do it. If you start doing that job, and that man is not doing anything for that moment, who is looking after the responsibilities of project manager in that time? You are doing the coder's job. You should be paid a coder's salary then. Who is doing the project management? Should this coder be granted the position of project manager for that time period? So remember, your responsibility you must understand and you must perform. You should not perform others' responsibility. You must enable them to do their job. As far as the program is concerned, as I have explained earlier, this is a group of related projects. This is a program has to have more than one projects in it. It is a group of related projects. All the projects within a program must be related to each other for the purposes of meeting the program objectives. All the projects must be aligned with the program objectives. They must be for the program. They cannot be individual projects just put together in form of a program. This is not a program. A program must have related projects. All of them must be focused on the achievement of the program objective. So these related projects are managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefits and control not available from managing them individually. You could not have achieved those results what we can achieve in by combining these by having these projects in form of this program. These 4 or 5 projects you are having in this program could have been standalone projects and could have produced the same results, but they could not have produce the same benefits as the program can do, because program is taking over the responsibility of the benefit realization of not only all the projects, but also it is unifying these benefits into the program benefit. This is something which you will lose if you are doing them individually. If there is no program and these projects are independent, then you are not going to be obtaining those benefits and controls, which is not going to be available if they are managed individually. Programs may include elements of related work outside of the scope of the discrete project. So, if there are 4 projects and they have got their own scope, they are fulfilling the project scope. Each discrete project is fulfilling its project scope. Who is fulfilling the scope beyond the project? Who is responsible for the benefits for that? So, program when existing around these projects, then it will look after those things which are not within the scope of individual project, but they are in the scope of the program. So benefits are in the scope of the program, so program will take care of that. A project may or may not be part of a program, because projects can exist alone as well. There could be a standalone project which is not part of any program, but a program will always have projects. A program cannot exist without having projects in it. So, having understood what the program management is defined as the centralized, coordinated management of a program to achieve the program's strategic objectives and benefits. So, program had its own strategic objectives directly linked with the organizational strategic objectives, and it has to yield specific benefits. Every program has to yield some specific benefits, and the projects which are created under this program are actually uh, delivering the product or deliverable which will ultimately add up to the benefits which have conceived for the program. Projects within a program are related through the common outcome and collective capability. So these projects are done in a specific order and manner, as if their outcome can be delivered and unified, and they're connected with each other. The projects are connected with each other within the program, and the program is getting them done in a specific order. Focus on project interdependencies and helps to determine the optimal approach for managing them. So, for yielding the benefit of the program, the optimal, most efficient approach is selected, and projects interdependencies are set by the program manager accordingly. So, there is a program management plan there. I said there must be some relationship. So, I'll give you some examples of which are not relationships. For example, if we are doing 10 projects for the same client, these 10 projects could not be put together into a program just because they are for the same client. They may be completely different projects, different purposes. They cannot be form of a program. You are trying to categorize all that client's projects into something which cannot be called a program. Program has to have interrelated, interdependent projects. So there is no interdependency in the projects of the same client, or of the same seller, or of the same technology, or of the same resource. These are just different types of categorizations, and categorizations point to portfolio management. These could be the sub portfolios of an organization. Maybe this is the IT portfolio, this is a construction portfolio, this is some other portfolio. So these portfolios can exist within the main bigger portfolio of the organization. So that brings us to the discussion of portfolio. What is a portfolio? Portfolio is a collection of the projects or programs and other work that are grouped together to facilitate effective management of that work to meet strategic business objectives. Now, again, we are talking about strategic business objectives, but it is now from the perspective of the portfolio. These are not the same business objectives which the project management was aligned with or the program management was aligned with. There are many strategic objectives, and the purpose of the project was to satisfy a certain strategic objective of the organization. Program was to satisfy another strategic objective of the organization. But here, what we are talking about is that portfolio is looking at the investment portfolio of the projects and programs, and therefore, what is the strategic business objective as far as the investment in projects and programs is concerned. This is the strategic business objective what we are talking about here. So this is a simple collection of all the projects and programs in an organization or in a category. The projects and programs in the portfolio may not necessarily be interdependent or directly related. They may not have any relation at all, but some of them may have relation. So that doesn't make it a program. All the projects must be interlinked and interdependent. Only then it will be a program. When they are just categorized together, all the projects and programs of this organization, this is one category. So this is a big category of all the projects and programs. This is a portfolio of my organization. Now I can even subdivide this portfolio into sub-portfolio. I say within this organization, all the IT projects and programs will be part of the IT sub-portfolio, and all the construction projects and programs will be part of the construction sub-portfolio. So the main portfolio of the organization may be divided into several categories of portfolios. It could be geographical categories, SUI Northern's portfolio and SUI Southern's portfolio, or it could be some other kind of industrial categorization or whatever kind of categorization. These could be the portfolios. Portfolio management refers to the centralized management again, but this is different from the program management because it is not exactly coordinated. This is just centralized. So all the projects and programs have to get some orders from portfolio, maybe from the perspective of the investment decision making. So centralized management of one or more portfolios, which include identifying, prioritizing, managing, and controlling. And when I say managing and controlling, please do not consider this as micromanagement of projects and programs. Portfolio has absolutely nothing to do with the internal workings of the projects and programs. Portfolio is just having a holistic strategic view of all the projects and programs. It is just identifying, it is just doing the business case study, it is just doing the prioritization, which project is better than other, which what which is most feasible, which is more beneficial for the organization, which is consuming less funds, that kind of thing. So it will prioritize the project on some criteria, and based on that, it will invest in those projects or programs. Those projects and programs which are not yielding much to the organization, they may go down in the priority, and ultimately they may be even dropped out of the portfolio. Any new opportunity which is of even better priority comes on top priority, and because we have limited funding, we may have to drop certain projects from the bottom. So portfolio management focuses on ensuring that projects and programs are reviewed to prioritize resource allocation, and that the management of the portfolio is consistent with and aligned to the organizational strategies. Now coming over to the PMO. Now people certainly confuse portfolio management and project management office, but they are two completely different concepts. Portfolio management is a very high profile job, that is a strategic level job, and project management office is a very low level clerical level job. Project management office is an organizational body or entity assigned various responsibilities related to the centralized and coordinated management of those projects under its domain. Number one, this is not responsible for all the projects. This is only responsible for the projects placed under its domain. Number one. Number two, this is not the commander of all the projects. This is just a coordination office for all those projects placed under this PMO. So let us discuss why a PMO should be formed. The responsibility of a PMO can range from providing project management support function. The minimal role of a PMO is to support the projects and programs. So all the projects and programs placed under the domain of the PMO will be provided support from the PMO. PMO will help them, guide them. So basically this is a support function. But on the other extreme, it could be made responsible for the direct management of the project. Although I do not like this role, because this is the other extreme, and this is a very dangerous extreme, because whenever somebody is trying to make establish a PMO, they would rather like to have it on a direct management basis. They do not take care of any support function, they just become commanders. PMOs are commanders of all the projects and programs, and they just are there to order around. That is absolutely wrong. Even if you have to gain the direct management of the project, you first start with your support function. There is a hierarchy in which you should develop your PMO. You cannot have a direct management PMO from the very beginning. So it always starts with a support function, and the maximum capacity a PMO can carry could be direct management. The projects supported or administered by the PMO may not be related other than by being managed together. So all the projects and programs placed under the domain of a PMO may not have any relation. They may be just like a portfolio. They did not, all the projects and programs under a portfolio did not have any relationship. They may or may not. But this is not a criteria that only the related project will be considered here. So PMO is just a kind of a centralized office which will coordinate the effort of all the projects. Why do we need it? Let us discuss that. You understand that for every project there is a project manager, and there is a project sponsor role as well. Project sponsor is the boss of project manager. In other words, in common organizations, this role is called as a project director. So project director is the person who allocates the fundings and gives the decisions on all the aspects of the project, and project manager is answerable to this one person. Although this one person may be, representing a number of other sponsors, like, the key stakeholders, the financiers, the higher level organization executives and all that, but basically the order comes to the project manager from the project sponsor. So for all practical purposes, project manager is answerable to the project sponsor, and project sponsor is basically responsible for the benefit realization of the product which is to be created by the project manager. So this much is for as far as the project sponsor is concerned. So we in programs we have program managers, and program managers have projects under them. So all the projects under the program will have the project managers. Who will be the project sponsor in that case? The projects under a program, you are a project manager under a program. Who is your sponsor? Anyone who wants to answer that? You are a project manager under a program. Who is your sponsor?
Program manager probably.
Of course, of course. Program manager is your boss. Program manager is assigning the projects to you. So your sponsor is program manager. But who is the sponsor of the program manager? There has to be a program sponsor as well. Just like we had a project sponsor, there could be a program sponsor. So project manager is answerable for all what he is doing to his sponsor, and program manager is responsible for all what he is doing to his sponsor. And all of these sponsors, a sponsor can be looking after more than one projects or programs, but it is generally understood that a project manager or a program manager is a dedicated position. Project manager looks after one project at a time, and program manager can only look after one program at a time. But the program sponsor could be looking after 5 programs or 10 programs together, or 10 programs and 20 projects together. So this is very much possible that a sponsor or the director is actually looking after a number of projects or programs. So today I received a query. Somebody, old student of mine, he asked me, what is the difference between a project manager and program manager? So I just, before starting the class, I just sent him a message and told him what is the difference between project and program manager. And he was asking, well, what if I am manager projects, manager projects. Manager projects means not a project manager, but manager projects. So more than one projects are under this person. So this is probably a position which we are calling the project sponsor or project director. You see, this is the role he's playing. He is not a program manager because all the projects under him are not interrelated or interconnected. So this is a kind of a small little portfolio of certain 5-10 projects given to him to manage together. So he is the director projects. So this is it. So what I was saying was that in the presence of project managers, project sponsors, program managers, program sponsors, and even the portfolio manager, um, how would the CEO of the organization would know the current status of all the projects and programs? Whom should he call? Whom should he consult? Ji Janab. The options are portfolio manager, program manager, program sponsor, project manager, project sponsor. All of these people, there are many people in the organization. Whom should the CEO consult with?
So the portfolio manager.
Okay. Um, Anybody who wants to contest this answer?
So perhaps that should be the portfolio manager because the CEO might not have these many of communication channels open with like a lot of people. So
Okay,
that's probably the
I
portfolio manager.
I agree with your point, but portfolio manager will only be able to tell him the strategic level details of investment, which projects are in priority, which are not on priority, which projects he is closing down, which projects he is starting new, what is the status of the funding and all that. But he will not be able to tell him about the internal details of the projects and programs. Do you think so?
Sir,
Absolutely.
why would CEO be interested in the internal details of the programs and the deliverables and all those timelines?
Okay. Um, have you ever been in a commanding position of a department or something? Have you?
Mm, yes, sir.
Okay. Are you not supposed to know everything in your department? Whatever is happening, you are overall responsible for that. Although you have
Yes,
delegated
sir.
your responsibilities, although you have delegated your responsibilities, but you must know everything. How would you know everything?
Yeah, but sir, I would know everything by looking at the executive dashboards and the specific reports
Exactly,
where I
exactly.
will, yeah, where I will get the numbers, but I would not be interested in the details and the
Okay,
execution of the
okay.
project.
Okay, I got the point. You are absolutely right. So, from where are these dashboards coming? Who is
So
creating
these
these dashboards?
dashboards will come. Sir, we have multiple portfolio for each department or each division. So
Hmm.
each portfolio either you will get it from the OPM, from that area you will get it,
Hmm.
or specific portfolio managers will provide information to
Hmm.
maybe the executive PMO office, where executive PMO office
Right.
will compile all those dashboards, assemble all together, create a dashboard for the CEO, something like that. Any kind of
Wonderful,
arrangement could
wonderful.
be made.
So you could not do it without the role of a PMO. I was introducing the role of a PMO.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, yeah.
actually, you need a PMO to do that. No portfolio
Yes.
manager, no program manager, no project manager, no sponsors can do this. You need to have another office. You need to have another setup directly under assistance
Yeah,
of the
you're right.
CEO, as if all this data can be gathered, processed, and converted into some summary, which could be put in front of you as a dashboard, and that would make you enable to look at what is happening in your organization. This is exactly why a PMO is required. So basically, PMO is a clerical job. This is just a support job for CEO, as if he can gather all the data and present it in a desired shape, in a desired dashboard in front of the CEO. This is the centralized PMO of the organization. PMOs could be of many positions, many domains. It could be an executive PMO, it could be a strategic PMO, it could be an enterprise PMO, it could be a portfolio PMO, it could be a program PMO, it could be a project management office, or whatever you want to call it. There are 40 different names for PMO. So PMO is basically for the support function. Number one, it is primarily required to provide the support to the higher level which for which it is created. If it is the central PMO, then it is for CEO. So this is providing the support function to the PMO. If it is a department PMO, it is reporting to the department head. So it is providing dashboards for that person. It could be anywhere. There could be a PMO within a program, which could be called a program management office. So that would be providing the output to the program manager. And if there is a very large project or a mega project, you could even have a PMO for that mega project itself. If within the domain of the mega project, all the reports and returns and everything coming in would be going into the PMO. So PMO can exist anywhere at any level, and it could be reporting to a specific person. So this is the support function. Number one, it is reporting upwards, summarizing upwards, but at the same time, it is also having linkages downstream. Therefore, it is very clear that a PMO can provide support functions downstream. It can advise the subordinate projects. It can help them create certain documentation, some standardization, some templates, or some other kind of support it can provide to the subordinate projects and programs as well. So this is all the support function. And this conduit can also be used for top-down communication from the CEO downwards to the projects. If there is some communication which has to be communicated to all projects of the organization, then probably PMO could be a very good tool for conveying that kind of communication. Although I'm not subverting the role of the sponsor, sponsor has its own role, and sponsor is the boss of the project and is the boss for the program. But still, if there is something which is to be communicated directly from the higher position, that could be done through a PMO. So this is what the PMO will generally function like. But when PMO is given more power, for example, PMO is also assigned that you will form the project management policy. You will develop a project management system for the whole organization. You will develop the historical archive for the organization, or for whatever domain it is responsible for. All the templates will be created about all the projects, charters and all that. All templates will be created by you. You will be the custodians of all project management documentation of old files and everything. So this way, we are increasing the responsibility of PMO. It is now custodian of the project management knowledge base. And it is also creating a standardized project management system, templates and all that. So this could be much useful for all the subordinate projects to follow, because then they will be having a standardized way of doing things. जी आवाज बंद हो गई थी, अभी आ रही है?
Sir, there was a patch of we couldn't hear where you were summarizing the external, extra role of PMO. If a PMO is managing the extra role and managing all the policies, the documents.
Okay. So the first thing is the PMO is a support function. Second thing is, in the support function, we could add certain other responsibilities, like it can take care of collecting all the documentation from previous projects, maintain the archives of the historical data, risk data, activity data, and all those different data registers could be kept here. It can also be made responsible for developing the new templates, and maybe it can also be assigned the responsibility of educating all the projects, training all the project managers on the new system or the software or whatever. So PMO can have this kind of responsibility as well. And once this kind of responsibility is there, PMO can also be there for coaching and mentoring. That means this is no more a clerical role. Now this is a specialized role. Such like PMO must have very experienced project managers who must be senior and who must be able to coach all the project managers and all. So now the role of PMO has changed from a clerical office, from just a support office, to a knowledge base. And the next level is, now because you are providing advice to all the projects, so you might be in a better position to help those projects, right? So the next thing could be that one of the project managers have just left the job, and PMO, who is looking after that domain, may immediately take over. Maybe a person from the PMA may be assigned as a project manager temporarily till the time the new project manager comes, or PMO takes over that project altogether. PMO can do it now because they are capable enough. So this is direct management of a project, but it can be harmful also, because if the project manager PMO is not that experienced, then they are doing their responsibilities as well as they're trying to directly manage the project. This could be very harmful for the PMO. PMO should have that level of maturity, that level of experience, when they can start managing the projects directly. So the specific form, function, and structure of a PMO is dependent upon the supporting organization's need. PMO can be delegated authority. Naturally, it is whomsoever is on the boss of the PMO, maybe the CEO, maybe the department head, whomsoever is the boss of the PMO can uh, delegate certain authorities to the PMO to act as an integral stakeholder or a key decision maker during the during the beginning of each project, to make recommendations or to terminate projects or to take other action. So project PMO can be given more powers. Some powers of the senior boss can be, delegated to the PMO, or sometimes the portfolio powers are also delegated to the PMO, but that is not a norm. That is not normal. PMO may be involved in selection, management, and deployment of shared and dedicated project resources. Those project resources which are to be distributed amongst many projects. There is a person who is working 2 hours on one project and 4 hours on another project, and then 2 hours on another project daily. So that that person is to be managed through the PMO, because if he's not he's reporting directly to the project, and we don't know if he has uh, been delayed by the previous project manager or what. So PMO will take account of that attendance of that person. So the primary function of the PMO, as we understand, is to support the project managers in a variety of ways, which may include, but is not limited to, shared resources. Just as we were discussing, managing shared resources across all projects. Those resources which have to be shared amongst various projects, this has to be managed by the PMO. Identifying and developing the project management methodology, best practices and standards. This is something project, experienced PMOs do. Coaching, mentoring, and training and oversight. Then monitoring compliance. Now, this is something you are getting into a directing role. You are enforcing compliance through PMO. Well, we have made the rules, and now all the project managers must follow it. And if somebody does not follow it, then probably they have to be penalized for that. So this is the extra power given to the PMO by the CEO or the top manager, whomsoever is the head of the PMO. So compliance with the project management standards, policies, and procedures is also sometimes the responsibility of PMO. Developing and managing the project policies, procedures, and templates. This is also the responsibility of PMO. Then coordinating all the communications across projects. Project communication management plan is specific to each project, but what about those communications which have to occur across projects? This is the responsibility of PMO. So PMO provides the administrative support. This provides the training, mentoring, and coaching. This provides the project support, guidance and training, resource alignment, and centralized communication, to summarize it all. So far, so good, Ji? Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, and that is uncertainty and risk. As I have been explaining earlier, the future always brings surprises. We are not sure about future. Although even when we are running operations, we still are not sure about future, but because we are in habit of doing things in an iterative fashion and we are doing it daily, so we have lesser uncertainty. But I do not say that we do not have uncertainty at all. Uncertainty is there, but it is comparatively much lesser than a new environment. You see, I travel to my office daily on the same road, so I know every nook and corner of that road. Yes, I can be surprised by a car appearing suddenly in front of me, but that is not usual. Usually, I know how the traffic behaves on this path, and I am in habit of iteratively doing this thing, traveling to on this road. So therefore, it is less of a surprise for me. But yes, of course, there can be some surprises. But what if I am traveling on a completely new path which I have never traveled before? It is full of surprises, full of bumps, full of lot many things which I don't know. What kind of traffic is there on this road? So I don't know anything about it. So sometimes the surprises are nice, but often they are unpleasant. Many people want ways to protect themselves from the unpleasant surprises. And these unpleasant surprises are the negative risks. And where the surprises are nice, these are the positive risks. People are willing to pay for protection against risk and uncertainty. So, when there is a possibility of negative risk, and that would normally happen in uncertain environment, and projects are usually very uncertain environments. We don't know what is going to happen to us. To the best of our knowledge, we are trying to plan things out based on our experience, but actually we do not have any precedence for this project. Therefore, there are many uncertainties there. Frank Knight says uh, risk refers to situations where the decision maker can assign mathematical probabilities to the randomness which he is faced with. That is just like if you switch a coin, then you have two possibilities, either head or tails, right? So there is a 50% probability of either one of the sides coming up. If you have a dice rolled that has 6 sides, so if you want to have a specific face of the dice to win, then probability of that would be 1/6. So uncertainty refers to situations when this randomness cannot be expressed in terms of specific mathematical probabilities. Change is bad. If the change is bad, never say no to a client. If the change is bad, saying yes leads to change. Change leads to lack of control, and lack of control leads to suffering. So, if change is bad, you have to deal with it. You have to take some remedial measures on that. And if the change is good, saying yes leads to change, change leads to more work, and more work leads to happiness. So, good risk is better for you. And you have to have a balance. A neat trick is balancing between stonewalling and accepting all proposed changes and causing major project control problems. Your request makes sense, but it raises potential risks and issues that might cost time and money. So you have to have a very uh, thoughtful consideration about these things. You must understand you must be able to measure the risk and then talk about it. Impact of change on risk management. High risk activities increasingly occur beyond the boundaries where traditional control environments operate. These changes will tear up the rule book in the way successful enterprises think about and govern risks. In compliance to ISO 27001, ITIL or adherence to COBIT standards within the IT function may no longer alone be sufficient to govern risk over IT services if they ever were. So now they have got later standards. PMI standard has been adopted into ISO and British standards and project management body of knowledge. This is most part of it has been accepted as part of ISO and other standards. Rapidly increasing volumes of data by outsourcing data management to third parties, risk of control being exercised over data handling being performed by these third parties. So this is one of the risks. By increasing the volume of data, we are getting into more risk that people are dealing more data and there are more chances of things going wrong. Then there are joint ventures and partnerships. The need to share and disseminate commercially sensitive data is also increasing. So that is again a risk at organizational level. People's interaction with technology. Outside work is an area not often considered on risk registers. Huge volumes of data ranging from customer purchasing habits to transaction tracking logs have been building up within corporate systems for years. Over the next decade, we are going to see an explosion both in ability and the opportunity for enterprises to exploit this data. You see what Facebook is doing, what Yahoo is doing. So they are using your data to exploit this data for other purposes. Although they benefit you as well, while you are searching something and you can see the related ads according to that. That is good, but at the same time, this data can be misinterpreted, manipulated for marketing purposes, other purposes. So this was all about the change. Any comments so far? Ji
All
na.
good, sir.
Okay. I don't want to move ahead to the next part. If you have any questions or discussion to be carried out, we can do it for next 5-10 minutes. जी शायद साहब
So we'll start the standard tomorrow.
जी हाँ
So are we starting the standard from tomorrow's class?
inshallah we'll do that too from tomorrow.
Okay, wonderful.
So Muid, anything from you? जी शायद साहब.
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. So is it all right if we call it a day today, because I want to start the next topic on a fresh day.
That's fine, sir. Sure.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Okay, then thank you very much for your company, and I hope you are learning something and enjoying it as well. Thank you very much and take care. Take care. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, sir.